Okay, I just want to take a few minutes to talk about the latest developer update. I'm basically going to call this the latest mid-chapter update, because we know that they're not going to do anything else beyond what we have here. They're far too lazy for that. So we're just going to call this basically the overview of the mid-chapter update. And the reason I want to talk about it is because it's getting a lot of praise, and I'm here to tell you why you're wrong for praising it, and to rain on your parade and to make your life worse by ensuring you that this update is testimony to how terrible these developers are. And it really is impressive because this update is good, and even then, it is terrible. And I'll tell you what I mean by that probably closer to the end. But for now, let's just go through the list, and I will, I guess, give my thoughts on the changes in the most concise way I can. Okay, skip past their forced comedy. Updates happen faster now, like you download updates faster, which is great. That's good. I don't really care about it because I'm here for balance. But yeah, I'm happy about that because updates take forever to download for no reason. Okay, Ghostface. So here's the thing. How long have they been working on this? When did they initially announce that they were working on this update? Was it like, I'm thinking it was over 3 months ago. I'm thinking it was maybe like even close to 6 months ago. But let's be generous. Let's just be really generous and say they've been working on him for 3 months. Now I think Ghostface is tied with Myers for the worst character in the game, easily. I have them as the bottom two, generally speaking. So I was needing a lot from this update. I was needing some really big, sweeping changes to this character, and he needs sweeping changes. I don't think almost anybody's going to disagree with me about that. He does struggle a lot. And what this update does for this character is it shows us that they have no idea what his problem is. They know he's bad, but they don't actually understand why he's bad. Okay, so the first thing they're doing is when he marks a survivor, and they can be insta-downed, the duration has gone up to 60 seconds from 45 seconds. So again, like, first of all, they've had 3 months. 3 months, and this is what they come up with is a numbers change that could be done like that. Like if a character really is as bad as Ghostface Edge, which he is awful, this kind of change could be so easily incorporated into some smaller update. But like this is like the holy grail. This is the big update we're supposed to be excited about. We only get 4 of these balance updates every year, and this is what they have to show for it. We only get this every 3 months, and this is the kind of shit that they give us. But anyways, I'll talk more about that later. So, they increased it to 60 seconds. It's like, that's good. Now, if you mark somebody and you weren't downing them within 45 seconds, you already lost. You were already, like, in a bad situation, because that was 45 seconds that you were chasing them and getting nothing for it. And the chances are that if you couldn't catch them in 45 seconds, you probably aren't going to catch them in 60 seconds. Even if you do, that still took you 60 seconds or so to do it, so you already got bigger problems than that. So again, like, it's good, but it doesn't address the problem that Ghostface has, and the problem Ghostface has is that even though he can mark you, he has nothing that he can use to actually help him catch you. Now this second change they gave him seems to be sort of trying to fix that problem, but it completely fails. So now when he marks a survivor, they can't reveal him. For one thing, I think it's kind of goofy, because like, he's obviously going to be chasing after you, but you can't break him out of stealth because of this mechanic, so it feels kind of weird in terms of continuity and like immersion. It just seems clunky, but I'm not really worried about that. I don't really care. But more importantly, people are pretending like this is a huge change, like his chase has gotten so much better, because if they can't break him out of stealth, then his red stain is going to be gone. And of course, that does help a little bit, but it's interesting because when Beast of Prey came out, you know, the perk that hides your red stain, nobody was excited about it. And even after they buffed it, nobody uses it, because losing the red stain is not that important. And especially on the fact that it's only ever going to be potentially useful in like a really enclosed indoor map where he can hide behind the wall. But if it's an open map or an outdoor map, it's going to do nothing. It's going to do absolutely nothing for him. So, yeah, like, they're exposed longer, and he doesn't have a red stain, but he's still not catching them. As long as the survivor gets to a good loop, he's fucked. He can't do anything. So what do we have here? What we have is a waste of time. We have a waste of time. This character, if he's lucky, he's going up from the bottom tier to the second from the bottom tier. Whatever that might be, from D to C, if he's lucky. They are changing his add-ons. Now, I've always been of the opinion I don't like to judge killers based on their add-ons. I like to look at killers as their base kit, because if we look at them through their add-ons, I think we give behavior a pass to do band-aid fixes. We say, okay, yeah, let's judge them by their add-ons. As long as they have good add-ons, they can be garbage. It can be a garbage killer, but as long as those iridescents are great, then they're a good killer. Like, no, that's a really unhealthy precedent. I think we should judge killers without their add-ons. But anyways, if we are going to be taking the add-ons into account, the two that they show here do seem really good. So honestly, if he gets better, if he becomes a better killer, it's going to be because of these new add-ons that are making him viable because they're actually good now. Gaining 10% movement speed after he marks a survivor, that's fantastic. That really is. You know, because Dead Hard is so popular right now, so if they're marked and they're full health, they have no exhaustion perk that they can use to get away from you, so they're just going to start running, and you're going to be way faster than them. So they're doomed. So that's a great add-on, it really is. And this one's great too, breaking a pallet or wall recharges Nitrod. That's great. It allows you to, you know, be chasing a survivor that broke you out of stealth. You break the pallet, you can go back into stealth and maybe finish stalking them and marking them or something else, or just switching targets entirely. So that's good. So yeah, I guess good job on the add-ons, but even that, it's not satisfying to me. It doesn't make me happy for Ghostface. It just makes me look like, okay, I guess you're better with your band-aids now. Okay, the Legion. Unfortunately, this next change is one of my favorite changes probably in the entire history of Dead by Daylight. And it kills me to say that. It kills me to give them as much credit as I'm about to give them. But this change that they gave to Legion is utter brilliance. I love this change. So the first part is not very meaningful by itself. So now, every time he stabs a survivor during Feral Frenzy, he gets faster for each unique survivor that he hits. So he can get he gets 0.2 meters a second per survivor, so he can have 0.8 meters after he hits all four. Which, that's cool. It doesn't really matter because I don't think his problem usually was that he was not able to catch up to the survivors, but on bigger maps, for sure, this does help him. But what this really does is, in conjunction with this other change, it's huge. Now, after you hit all four survivors, you can do a fifth Feral Frenzy hit, and when you hit that one, it puts the survivor into the dying state. Now, this is huge. This makes this character actually feel rewarding and worth playing. It feels like you actually have something to invest in, as opposed to just rinsing and repeating the same thing over and over. You activate Feral Frenzy, you hit all the survivors, and that's it. Then you just start chasing the last one that you hit. And that's really all there was to him. There was no mechanical depth. There was no satisfying conclusion to using the power. It just kind of happened. It was just a nuisance for the survivors, and it bought you time, I guess. Even though the hit and run meta is completely unviable right now, which we'll talk more about later. But now, with this fifth hit that lets you down a survivor with Feral Frenzy, this is amazing, because this extra movement speed that you have is guaranteeing that you're going to be able to do this. Now, in most situations, you're going to just down the last survivor that you hit with Feral Frenzy. You'll hit them, they'll be deep wounded, you'll have your 5th hit ready to go, you'll keep going after them, and then you'll down them. And it's like, that's great. Now you have the entire team injured and deep wounded, and one of them down on the ground. This is really strong. But it also actually allows for some decision making for the Legion. Because, like, let's say he's got a survivor that's on Death Hook. He can hit all 4 survivors, have his powerful hit ready, and then go hunt down the survivor that's on Death Hook, use the down on them, and then get them out of the game. So not only is he much stronger now, I do believe that this will help him significantly. I also think he's more dynamic and interesting to play now. This will actually make me play this character more. I love this change. I don't know who is responsible for it. If I had to guess, it's somebody that doesn't actually work for behavior. They walked in and said it, and for some reason they listened. But it is brilliant. They also reduced the duration of the fatigue that he gets afterwards to 3 seconds. Sure, that's fine. The fact that it was 4 seconds is insane. That's way too long. So yeah, great. And then they also reworked his add-ons, or at least some of his add-ons. Again, I do not care, but that's cool. And he has chase music. I'm not really an expert on music, but it feels to me like they were trying way too hard with it. Here it is, I guess. Actually, no, never mind. I don't have desktop audio on, so I can't play it. Okay, and then Hemorrhage. So this is what I was talking about with the hit and run meta. So again, this Hemorrhage rework, it's cool that they're trying to make this status effect better, because it was garbage. There being more pools of blood does nothing. Now, what Hemorrhage does is, if you stop healing, your healing progress goes down slowly as you no longer are healing. Goes down at a rate of 7% per second. This is really cool. This is really cool in theory. This idea that you have to commit to the heal, because otherwise it's just all your progress is going to get lost. But again, what this is doing, and this is similar to the way that Ghostface's changes kind of reinforce his problems, this change to Hemorrhage reinforces the meta. Rather than changing the meta, which is what these kind of updates should do, they should shake up the meta. They should cause like a significant gameplay shift that makes the game feel more fresh and fun. What this change does is reinforce the already existing meta. And what do I mean by this? What I mean is, by further incentivizing characters, or I guess survivors, to commit to healing, we are increasing the incentive to run Circle of Healing, we're increasing the incentive to run medkits, and we're decreasing the incentive for killers to play hit and run, because we know with hit and run, your goal is to keep the survivors injured. But with this Hemorrhage effect, survivors have even more incentive to not stay injured and to not partially heal. They're always going to try to finish the heal. So yeah, it's a cool idea to make this status effect better, but in terms of its actual impact on the health of the game, it just reinforces a meta that many consider unhealthy and unfun. They updated the difficulty rankings on killers. That's cool, sure. I don't think they understand their own difficulties, but hopefully they got it. Haddonfield is coming back with a graphics update. Myers House looks great. I don't really care about this, but Myers House on this image looks great, so I'm excited to see this new map, but I care about the mechanics, I care about how it plays, and my prediction is that it's going to play pretty much just as bad as it did, if not worse, but we'll see. But anyways, my overarching point about this is that there are good changes here. Whoops, I just knocked the mic, I'm sorry. There are good changes here. Ghostface is getting what seems like some pretty great add-ons. Maybe they only showed us the good ones, the rest of them are garbage, who knows. But what we're seeing here is good. His actual changes in a vacuum are nice, but they aren't really doing much for him. The Legion change is brilliant. So I am praising of these changes. However, we only get 4 of these updates a year. We only get 4 balance updates. And this is all they have to show for it, is 4 base kit changes, most of them which are just number changes, The only update that I think took some real critical thinking was this Legion change. And again, that's why I praise it so much. It is really good. So we got 4 base kit changes. We got a modest amount of add-on changes. We got a kit rework here and like a semi-rework here. And then a status effect rework. In a game like Dead by Daylight that has so many huge, overbearing balance issues, this is not enough. This doesn't even come close to enough. It's not even in the same neighborhood as enough. When we still have problems like No One Escapes Death, like Decisive Strike, like Dead Hard, like Borrowed Time, like in general the stale meta. The stale meta of Blight and Nurse being the top killers, the stale meta of gen stopping perks being a must run if you want to win, the stale meta of no hit and run killers, the stale meta of all of it. The game is still the same, and this update does not change the game. In any other game like Dead by Daylight that has this kind of dynamic, because Dead by Daylight fundamentally is a very mechanically intense game that, you know, it's other games like it that have so many characters and so many items and so many so much building. You can even look at MOBAs. You can look at just all kinds of different online games that have a competitive edge to them, because this game is competitive, or at least it should be competitive if it was in a better state. Other games like it that have a competitive scene get way more changes than this. Every change, like every update that is about balance in these other games, is legitimately meta shifting. They look at what is really strong, they nerf it. They look at what is really weak, they buff it, and they aren't gentle about it. Like, we're gonna buff this and try to make it actually meta. The reason that these updates are bad is not only that they're lazy in the sense that they have very little in them, it's also that we have a development team that doesn't understand what the game's problems are. So when they try to fix these characters or these add-ons or these status effects, whatever it might be, they don't actually know how to change them to make them better for the game, because they don't know what their problem is. So we have to stop praising them for making changes at all when the changes in reality aren't actually doing much for the game. They aren't actually shifting the meta. This game has way too many huge balance problems for us to be looking at these very negligible changes for the most part, with the exception of this, and saying good job behavior. No, we have to stop this. We have to say these are a mediocre or an okay attempt, but you need to go way further. We got to keep pushing them to go way further than this, because this is not nearly enough.